What's up, potheads and political junkies? You're watching Cannabis Culture News Live. I'm Jeremiah, the editor of Cannabis Culture, here broadcasting at Pot TV Studios, Amsterdam. I'm chilling with my man Marius here.
Hey, bro.
We got Jodie in the house. We got Marijuana Man in the house. We're going to have Marco Renda on the show today of Treating Yourself magazine and Treating Yourself Expo. He's got a new vapor lounge called Vape on the Lake in Ontario and a new glass studio as well. So we're going to talk to him about both of those things. We're going to have Jodie on the show to talk about her latest media appearance on Sun TV, which was really awesome. Kicked some serious ass. That's her second appearance on the Michael Corrin show, The Arena it's called. And it's basically considered Fox News North, though I would say that they're probably a lot better than Fox News. Sun TV is sort of the conservative, right-wing Canadian news 24-hour station. I don't actually get it at my house. We do get it here in the lounge, but I've heard that soon it will be all over Canada, probably, if they have their way. Yeah, so I also have some news to go over with you guys. Going to be smoking. Oh, here's Princess. Going to be smoking out a Princess. And actually, where's my weed? Hold on just a second. Marius, is my laptop case around you somewhere over there?
Should be right, yeah.
Aha, there it is. Thanks. Thank you, thank you. My portable weed container. I'm sadly using a plastic container to transport my weed right now because I can't find my little glass container, but it's got good stuff inside of it. I don't know if you can see that. Nuggets of goodness. All right. And actually, I should flip on the little chat thing here so I can say hello to you guys. Hello, chat room. Good to have you guys here. All right. So, and actually, David Malmo Levine has promised to stop by with another artifact from the Herb Museum downstairs here at 307 West Hastings. Unfortunately, the Herb Museum is not open to the public yet, but it will be sometime soon, we're hoping. Fingers are crossed. But you can always come down here to 307 West Hastings, where we have our lovely Vapor Lounge and Cannabis Culture headquarters, our big head shop. And of course, we have our Pot TV studios here as well. You can come and visit us, come down and be on the show. All right, so I'm going to go over a little bit of news here. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the great progressive development of a lot of reform bills all throughout the United States in a whole bunch of different states. There's a lot going on in the US right now that's making me very jealous and wishing that Canada had similar things going on. There's an article on the front page of Cannabis Culture right now by Philip Smith of StopTheDrugWar.org, who is a fantastic writer. Marijuana Law Reform at the State House 2012, and he goes over a whole bunch of different bills, legalization bills, decriminalization bills, and some ballot initiatives as well, in at least 3, we think, or at least 2, certainly Colorado and Washington State, hopefully California as well. And we'll talk to David Malmo Levine about that a little bit and see if there's any movement in California on the ballot initiative. But I'm just going to read you a little bit here. State legislatures have convened or are convening all around the country. Once again this year, marijuana decriminalization or legalization are hot topics. And there's bills pending in 3 states, legalization bills, outright legalization, and ballot initiatives in Washington and Colorado. And decriminalization bills are live in 9 states. And there's also bills that would improve existing decriminalization laws in 2 other states. And so I'm just going to read you some of the states here. Massachusetts has a legalization bill. New Hampshire and Washington both also have legalization bills. Arizona, Hawaii, Illinois, Indiana, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Tennessee, Vermont, those are all decriminalization bills, outright decriminalization. So some of them are replacing any criminal charges with a $100 fine, and some of them get better from there or worse. And of course, in New York and North Carolina, there's tweaks to their decriminalization bills that have already passed there. Like in New York, there should be some tweaks there. I'm going to talk to you guys. I did talk to you guys on the show last week a little bit about what's going on in New York. I have some more clips and some really startling news from New York that came out this week that's really bad. And actually, maybe we'll just go straight into that. In New York, I talked about on the show last week, the police there, though they've decriminalized marijuana, and it's actually legal to carry a small amount of it up, the cops can't bust you for it if it's in your pocket and you don't show it. But what the New York Police Department has been doing is they stop people, they tell them to empty their pockets, And of course, when they pull the marijuana out of their pocket, it's now exposed, and then they can arrest them for it. And so marijuana arrests in New York are skyrocketing still, and they've been the most they have been in 7 years in a row. They've been basically record-setting. And this year is no change. They continue to do it, even though they were given a warning earlier last year that they had to stick to their lowest police priority idea of it. And actually, I'm going to play you guys a clip from Democracy Now!, which is startling, because this week there was actually a murder of a young guy who had a bag of marijuana on him, just a small amount, and I guess he fled the cops. The cops were searching people, and he ran away and ran back to his house. Now the cops ran into his house, kicked down the door, and then shot him in his bathroom. Even though he didn't have a gun, he was completely unarmed, and just for a bag of marijuana, a small little bag of pot. So that's a shocking one. And actually, let me bring up my storyboards here. I might as well start with a little video. This is about the New York situation. And then when we come back, I'll play a couple videos for you. We'll come back and talk a bit about it, and we'll load up Princess. So here's a little bit more about the story I was just talking about. And I believe this is ABC from New York.
New York City police are interviewing potential witnesses and trying to mitigate public anger after officers shot and killed an unarmed man Thursday afternoon. NYPD says an 18-year-old drug suspect named Ramarley Graham fled plainclothes officers who were investigating street corner drug dealing in the city's Bronx borough. Officers pursued Graham on foot to his family's apartment, and police say an officer fired a single shot at close range, killing Graham after a struggle at the bathroom door. Police confirmed 2 of Graham's family members were in the home and witnessed the shooting.
Marley willing to help anybody on the street. You will help an old lady crossing the street. He's like that. He's not a bad kid.
Graham's mother says her son smoked marijuana and that he apparently had some with him at the time he was killed. However, she also said he did not carry a weapon. Police confirmed they found marijuana in the apartment, but that no weapon was recovered. Brian Thomas, The Associated Press.
No weapons were found. No weapons. Yeah, these cops, they do have a license to kill. They have a little something on you. It doesn't matter what it is. See, that's why the drug war is so important to these guys, because they can just go after anybody indiscriminately. They can target people, because most people have something illegal on them, especially when it comes to marijuana. A lot of people smoke pot. They're non-violent people. It just allows the government to go after everybody. And really, if you can get away with killing somebody who is fleeing the cops with a small bag of marijuana in a state that's decriminalized it, I mean, geez, it's pretty harsh stuff. This is another news clip that was from a couple days after it happened, because it's caused a lot of controversy in New York. It's really stirred up emotions there. A lot of the people who live there believe that the police are racist and believe that they are cracking down on minorities disproportionately, and they are. It's in the stats. So, and actually we'll get to a democracy clip about that subject, but check this one out first.
News 12 has learned that the officer who shot the 18-year-old to death in Wakefield had no street-level experience. Our Amy Yancey has the details.
It's been a week since Ramarley Graham lost his life during a botched drug arrest. The 18-year-old was unarmed at the time, and that's unleashed a firestorm of criticism about police tactics. Now, Police Commissioner Ray Kelly is responding to those attacks. On Wednesday, Commissioner Kelly called for a, quote, citywide high-level review of street narcotics enforcement units to reassess training tactics. This after the police commissioner confirmed that Officer Richard Hayes, the one who shot Graham, had no training in street-level narcotics enforcement or plainclothes cop work. We spoke to Wakefield residents about the commissioner's comments. Let's take a listen to what they have to say.
I think that he should have been trained. The people he's talking about should be retrained. They should have been... I don't get why they're being retrained if they should know what they're doing already.
They didn't even have a warrant to go in his house in the beginning, so I felt that's where they messed up from there.
During the last 7 days, the memorial in front of Ramarley Graham's house, which is where he got shot, keeps getting bigger. Residents say it's their way of showing that he'll never be forgotten. Reporting from Wakefield, Amy Yancey, News 12, The Bronx.
So this guy doesn't even have the experience that's necessary to be a narcotics officer, and I mean, it's just crazy in New York that they're able to, we see these stories all the time, right? It's not like this is something new. This happens, and it happens not just in New York, but in lots of different states. Federal police officers and state police officers, or municipal police officers. and they just get away with it constantly. There's sometimes repercussions for the people involved. I'm sure we'll probably hear some in this particular case. As you see, the politicians are getting involved in it now.
Suspended with pay.
So yeah, suspended with pay, Jodie said. Exactly. So yeah, brutal stuff. And who do these cops answer to? That's the thing, really. Ultimately, you see when they do the investigations, they always have another police department from down the street investigated or something. That's some of the ones they're doing here in Canada. There's police investigating police. So how does that usually turn out as well? I mean, obviously they protect each other. So shocking stuff. I'm actually gonna load Princess right now and smoke because it's just about, we have a few more minutes till 4:20, and then I'm gonna play a little bit longer of a video. It's about 10 minutes long. So I don't wanna miss 4:20 with you guys this time. So maybe what we'll do for the next couple of minutes here is get high and talk to you guys in the chat room here.
Somebody wants to know what you're smoking there, Jeremiah.
Now that is a very good question. I was told it's some sort of a Kush, but I'm not sure which. Here's a little close-up. They're kind of, the buds themselves don't really, they're kind of packed in a bit. My bag was a little squished. I don't think you can see that. It's not really coming into focus. It smells good though. And I don't have a grinder again. I'm ill-equipped.
Do you want a grinder?
Yeah, here, I'll grab that. Oh, thank you, thank you. All right. You need the tools. And so, what do you guys? How do you guys grind up your weed out there? Do people still use scissors? Does everybody have a metal grinder? For years, I just used scissors. And of course, when I came and started working at Cannabis Culture, there's obviously a few pot snobs down here, and I was told quite quickly that grinders are the way to go because when you use scissors, you're constantly shaving little bits of metal into your weed, even if they're at a microscopic level. And Jacob Hunter told me that, actually. That was my source, so if you want... Right. Jacob did write an article, actually, a little bit about grinders and how some grinders have the same problem, although we couldn't really source it completely, and we just didn't think attacking grinder companies was probably the smart thing to do.
Scissors just squish it and destroy the trichomes.
That's true.
Grinders
Scissors
kind of seem to let
fluff it
through.
up a little
Yeah,
bit.
fluff it.
That's right. And this is a space case grinder, I believe. Oh no, this is a Kush.ca grinder. Wow, I'm impressed. It was working like a space case grinder there for a sec, which is kind of odd for a Kush.ca grinder. I'm just joking. This grinder was given to me for free, or given to the office for free, so we can't complain, I guess, even if it doesn't always work. So yeah, what are you guys smoking out there? Anybody puffing along? My beard is so boss, somebody says. Thank you. I appreciate that. I like my beard too. I have a thing for guys with beards. Marijuana man. Be careful. Yeah, I've had this beard for a long time actually. It's been about 6 or 7 years since it's been completely shaved off. I've always at least sported a goatee for that long. But before that I had just a little baby face. In fact, there's photos of me that I'm sure you could probably find without my beard, and I look a lot younger. And that's one of the reasons that I like to keep my beard, because I look like a little baby when I shave it off. So, all right. Somebody says it's a hippie beard, wrong generation. And the glasses, my glasses are the bee's knees. Yes, there's also a funny story about my glasses related to this show. When I filmed my very first episode of, at the time it was called Weed This Week, and it was just a little 5-minute clip I did about the Olympics coming to Vancouver and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I actually had fake 3D glasses with the lenses poked out that I was wearing at the time to give it sort of a Cronkite-ish look, I guess, or something along those lines. Who is it that wears glasses? I believe it was Cronkite, his famous putting his glasses on when the Kennedy assassination happened. Shed a tear. But yeah, and then right after that happened, right after I used those fake glasses on my first show, I started noticing, or I had noticed for a while, that I was going blind, so I went to the doctor and they said I do need glasses, so I tried to get the nerdiest glasses I possibly could. I always say I'd like to look like a 1950s NASA scientist, or maybe 1960s NASA scientist. I don't know when NASA was actually invented, but... All right, so Princess is loaded, and I've managed to fill in a few minutes with ramblings. Marius, anybody else want a hit of this? I know Oh, marijuana man's not a big bong toker. I need a lighter. I have one actually. Look at that.
Oh.
And it's black. Matches my tie. Ah, yeah. Smart asses. Right. You can't have everything on you at all times. All right. So, we have 1 minute till 4:20. Somebody's saying 9/11 was an inside job in the chat room. No chat room. It wouldn't really be a chat room without somebody saying 9/11 was an inside job. Which I agree with. I think it was. All right. Just about 4:20. I'm Alex Jones. That's what somebody says. All right. Looks like it's close enough. My clock says 4:20. Happy 4:20. Oh, it's a filthy bong. Good thing you couldn't see the dirtiness down there. She needs a bong skirt. But then you could look up her bong skirt when I went it over. Nice. Marius, what about you? You want one of these?
No thanks.
No?
Maybe after you clean her.
Oh, jeez. I like them filthy. All right. So everybody else out there, smoke your weed. And watch this. Now, this isn't really, the most pleasant situation in New York where they're shooting people down for pot bags. But Democracy Now!, if you guys haven't watched Democracy Now!, I implore you to check it out on a daily basis. Democracy Now!, I think, is the best video news program you can find anywhere, and it's free for everybody on the internet. Every day, 5 days a week. Amy Goodman and her crew there do a fantastic job, and I know David Malmo-Levine loves Amy Goodman and her crew.
I love Amy Goodman. Do you know where she cut her teeth?
No.
In East Timor during the Santa Cruz massacre of 1991.
Wow.
She was there.
She made it through. A lot of journalists didn't.
250 people died in that massacre.
Yeah.
She survived the 91 Timor thing, and then she came back and started doing...
Wow. Well, no wonder she's coming from that angle of, Timor, can't get started on Timor. You drop the T-bomb.
Sorry.
If you guys don't know about Timor, check it out. Look up East Timor. It's freaky stuff. There's a genocide that happened in our lifetime, basically, and it's the hidden genocide. Noam Chomsky talks a lot about it.
It's in the film Manufacturing Consent.
That's
they
right.
Look at it fairly...
Yeah, a lot of great information in manufacturing consent. It's used... Chomsky did kind of a case study on the media itself by comparing East Timor to Cambodia. And had remarkable results because the New York Times was basically hiding the truth completely, not talking about it at all. They wouldn't publish anything about it. And when they did finally publish something under pressure from activist groups, it was cut up. It was a story that came from, I think, the London Times or something, and it was chopped to ribbons. So the New York Times is not necessarily a friend of democracy or the truth. So here, check this out. Amy Goodman, Democracy Now! Enough of our rambling. This is a good one.
If an officer stops you, promise me.
Bruce Springsteen's American Skin, 41 shots, inspired by the New York police shooting of Amadou Diallo. That was on February 4th, 1999. Diallo was killed in a hail of police bullets after police officers mistook his wallet for a gun as he was trying to enter his own home. 4 officers fired 41 times, fatally killing the 23-year-old Ghanaian immigrant. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh.
Well, nearly 13 years later to the day, there's a new Amadou Diallo, and his name is Ramarley Graham. Last Thursday, he was shot at close range in his parents' apartment in the Bronx after being chased into the house by narcotics detectives. According to a recently released surveillance video, the officers followed Graham to the second-floor apartment, knocked, and then kicked open the door. They found Graham in the bathroom, where moments later they shot him dead. A key witness to the shooting, Graham's grandmother, Patricia Hartley, was allegedly taken into police custody, held against her will for several hours, and forced to give a statement about what happened. Police Commissioner Ray Kelly initially said Graham, quote, appeared to be armed, but no weapon was ever recovered. Kelly also said they found marijuana in the home and think Graham may have been trying to flush some down the toilet when cornered by the cops. This was the third time in a week that a member of the police had killed a suspect. The NYPD is coming under criticism not only for shooting Graham, but also its broader stop-and-frisk policy, which critics say disproportionately targets people of color. On Monday, about 500 protesters rallied in the Bronx, New York, to condemn the police treatment of black youth. This is Jamel Mims of the Stop Mass Incarceration Network.
From the stop-and-frisk policy! From the stop-and-frisk policy! Where Ramarley was brutally targeted! Ran up in his home! And shot point blank! This is not about finding criminals! This is a system! Which you are complicit in! That criminalizes youth that look like me! We are not criminals!
That's Jamel Mims, who's leading that chant. He's joining us in our studio right now, organizer with the Stop Mass Incarceration Network, which is working to end the practice of stop and frisk. Mims was arrested last October for engaging in nonviolent civil disobedience, along with Professor Cornel West and other activists blocking the entrance to an NYPD precinct. He was again arrested in November in Queens for nonviolently blocking the entrance to the police precinct where Sean Bell was killed in a hail of police bullets 5 years earlier, near the place where he was killed. We're also joined by Nicholas Pert, who recently wrote a piece in the New York Times detailing his multiple experiences being stopped and frisked. The piece is called, "Why is the NYPD After Me?" Nicholas Pert is a member of Brotherhood's sister Soul, a community organization in Harlem. He's also serving as a witness in a federal class action lawsuit filed by the Center for Constitutional Rights against the New York Police Department. The lawsuit challenges the New York Police's alleged practice of racially profiling and unconstitutional stop and frisks. Last fall, a federal district court judge determined the case would be allowed to go to trial. The plaintiffs are seeking class certification. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Why don't, Jamel, you lay out what happened to Ramarley?
Okay, what happened to Ramarley? Yeah, what happened to Ramarley is really a concentration of things that happen to black men and impoverished black and Latino youth every day in the city and all throughout the country. I mean, there are 600,000 stop and frisks per year. 85% of the people who are stopped are black and Latino. 93% of them are doing nothing wrong when they're stopped. And this is an instance that really concentrates so much of the brutality and force that the police use against this particular section of people. I mean, what happened to Ramarley, again, you're looking at what was the use of the sanctioned use of lethal force for what was probably a legal amount of contraband that he was carrying on his person. And for this, he paid the ultimate price. I mean, there are, 40,000, arrests on marijuana laws alone in New York City that were black and Latino youth. I mean, so what you're really looking at is the front end of police brutality, and with the stop and frisk policy and opportunities that arise like this 2,000 times per day. So, you have an example with Ramarley Graham where it gets carried to that ultimate end, but this is a fate that every black and Latino youth is raised above their heads, that any one of them can meet.
Nicholas Pert, in your article in the New York Times, you talk about the fact that you've been subject to this stop and frisk on several occasions over the course of just a few years. Can you describe what happened?
Well, the times I've been stopped and frisked has been for reasons of coming out of my building, going to the store, and...
How old were you the first time?
The first time, I would say I was during my 18th birthday was the first time.
And what happened exactly?
Well, I was celebrating my birthday, and I was at my sister's house at 96th Street in Amsterdam, and me and my cousin and another friend, we were in a median strip on Broadway, and all of a sudden, squad cars come out of nowhere with their guns drawn, telling us to get on the ground, and we had no idea what was happening. And the whole experience itself was devastating and dramatic. And
what did they tell you to do?
they told me to get on the ground, and they just searched me, my cousin, and another friend.
They put guns to your head?
Well, I was on the ground. It was towards my torso area, so.
And it was your birthday?
Yes, it was my birthday.
And I read in the piece how the police officer noticed that in your driver's license.
Yes.
What do you say?
Happy birthday afterwards, when they found nothing on us.
What's the effect of this kind of thing? Because you mentioned in the piece that your friends, it's obviously not an uncommon thing. What's the effect of the stop-and-frisk policy, on people in the neighborhood, other young men your age?
Well, the effects of stop-and-frisk, I believe, are it's damaging in the community. It further damages the relationship between the police and the community, and it makes neighborhoods more dangerous. It makes the job that the NYPD does more dangerous when, due to these illegal stop and frisk and aggressive behavior.
Jamel, can you describe your own experiences with stop and frisk?
Again, and I come at this from the perspective of somebody who was kind of coached throughout their life and raised by their mother, as I'm sure, Nicholas, you were, that at a certain age you get to a point where you suddenly become a threat to the police, and that you have to kind of carry that in stride, and that there are ways that you have to respond to those types of situations. And I kind of came up doing all the right things, all the kind of correct things, and there was one particular, I've had escalating experiences with law enforcement growing up in Washington, D.C. as a young black male. I'm sure you can assume that growing up, 14, 15, 16, 17, every year there'd be kind of running with the police, a stop, a pullover, they make you prostrate or put you on your knees and have you in the middle of the street in front of a squad car. These are kind of routine things. But one kind of escalated example that really was a flashpoint was after I received the Fulbright Award to study sociology in China. And the summer before leaving, I actually was assaulted by Boston police on exiting a party at night. And so that was kind of an experience, that really summed things up. It's like, they don't do background checks before they drag you into the street. This isn't a sort of thing that, and it really complements what is a systemic and altogether oppressive policy. I mean, this isn't a thing that is one bad cop or a few individual cops, but instead, you're looking at a systemic problem, like you guys said, you showed from the clip, that criminalizes youth. And talks about the manner they dress and behavioral characteristics and criminalizes those. You're dealing with a system that has no future and no options for youth, and thusly has to criminalize them.
And you almost lost your chance to get a Fulbright after that.
Right. I mean, there was a period where I had to kind of come to terms with the State Department, and they said, oh, well, we get this record that, you've been involved in a police incident where we don't really, where we can't jump out and defend you. We kind of need you to let us know what happened so that you can continue, so that you can go to China. Yeah.
So as an organizer, what is it that activists are calling for in the community? And what's the police response been?
Okay, well, simply and flat out, what our organization, the Stop Mass Incarceration Network and the Stop and Frisk campaign, we've been engaged on a campaign of nonviolent civil disobedience since October 21st. Going to precincts in Harlem and Brownsville, where they're the most stop and frisk per capita in New York City, and also in Queens, at the precinct that houses the murderers of Sean Bell. And flatly and simply, we're calling to drop this policy and to stop using it altogether. And that's our demands as far as that have been very, very clear.
I want to go to a comment of the Bronx DA. On Saturday afternoon, Ramarley Graham's local community met with Bronx DA Robert Johnson and law enforcement. This is what Johnson had to say.
What I told the community was just the outline of how we go about handling these cases, the fact that our presence is there from the day of the incident. We had assistant DAs there. They were there again yesterday. They've been briefing the chief of the Homicide Bureau.
Jamel, are you satisfied with the response?
Oh, I mean,
what are your demands?
I mean, not at all. What we're in fact calling for is altogether the end of the system of mass incarceration. We're looking at stop and frisk, and our organization was brought into being from a call from Cornell West and Carl Dix. really talking about bringing the fight against the entire system of mass incarceration to the next level. And that would take, you know, incredible mass resistance. So,
what about the response, though, from of the NYPD to Ramarley Graham's killing? Is it different from previous incidents like this? Do you find it different at all?
No, I mean, they you know, they're coming with the same kind of, you know, framing the narrative again around danger and danger to the community, framing the narrative around safety. When this is really not a conversation about safety. It's really not a conversation about, you know, drug usage or any kind of threats to the community. I mean, look, you know, drug usage and drug offense rates across races are uniform. It's you know, fairly one-to-one. But when you look at the amount of people who are, the percentage of people, and the percentage of African Americans and Latinos particularly, who are adjusted for drug laws, it's like 90%. So, I mean, this isn't a thing. And again, when you frame the conversation around safety and that, you know, these are policies, you know, the Stop-and-frisk policy continues to make things safe.
The story of Jatiq Reed?
Yeah, Jatiq Reed, very quickly, who was, you know, beaten and assaulted by cops, again, up in the Bronx. This was last week, on last Tuesday, I believe, last Tuesday or Wednesday, but early last week. But this all fits into a system of social control.
Nicholas Spear, when you wrote your piece, your op-ed piece in the New York Times about the constant pressure you feel and being stopped and frisked number of times, what kind of response did you get? And I'm sorry, we only have 20 seconds.
What kind of response I got from the article? Well, it was a great response. I had a larger reaction than I anticipated. And, you know, I think I'm glad that the topic is out there and it's, you know, bringing attention to, you know, an issue that I feel that should change.
Do you feel things are changing, Jamel?
I do. Already, you know, in the past few months, in the past few weeks even, since we began this campaign, we've been having conversations that we would not have had before on.
They're laughing about dubstep. We had a dubstep conversation because of the chat. Somebody said dubstep and cannabis will save the world, or something like that. Is that what the quote was? All right, so yeah, that was the New York thing. Think about that, guys. And check out Democracy Now! You guys, if you haven't watched Amy, go do it. And you've seen a little bit of her on my show, but this show is 5 days a week. It's awesome. An hour a day. David Malmo Levine.
Hey,
His
boys and girls.
artifact of the week.
Artifact of the week from the Herb Museum at herbmuseum.ca. Check out all our online exhibits. This is, it says Yohimbe compound. Yohimbe is the most potent aphrodisiac known to humankind. This compound, here, it's a weird angle. This compound this combination will commend itself as having remarkable stimulation action upon the vasomotor system, a valuable nerve tonic and tissue builder in neurasthenia, mental and physical exhaustion, insomnia, depression, functional disturbances, and debility. A valuable aphrodisiac in sexual impotency in either sex, restores youthful vitality and virility. And the formulation is extract cannabis, 1/20th of a gram, strychnine phosphate, 1/80th of a gram, erythroxyhedron, erythroxylon coca, which is like cocaine, 1/48th of a gram, zinc phosphide, avenin, yohimbe, and orchidic substance.
Orchidic, yes.
Dose 1 tablet daily when needed.
I'd like to know what that is.
By the Drug Products Co. Pharmaceutical manufacturers, Long Island City, New York.
Wow, and what year?
Well, it didn't come with a year. It's like 25 cents per box. It appears as though this would be about 100 years old.
Really?
But I know it looks brand new. It was just in a collection that was not tampered with.
Restores youthful vitality.
Yes.
Virility. 1 tablet daily when needed. So it has cannabis in it. Now, what are the chances? Are the other ones illegal, the ingredients, other than cannabis?
Well, the other coca would be illegal as well. You can get Yohimbe online or at health food stores as a
coca tea.
You can get coca tea. There are some coca leaf products out there. It comes with the pills here.
Those are the pills, though?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get them tested and see what they're made of.
Wow.
I'm not gonna test them on any human or animal. We'll just get them tested in a lab. Okay, do you want to try this aphrodisiac? See what it does?
Sure, yeah, I'll try anything.
Report back to us. Anyway, yeah, I'll get it tested in a lab. I'll see if this is a genuine article, and if it is, it's just a very well kept artifact from the Herb Museum.
There you go. Wow, very cool, David. Thank you for coming on with that.
You are very welcome. Any other topics you wanted me to?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the latest. You were on the show last week talking about the Regulate Marijuana Like Wine initiative in California and Steve Cubby's progress on convincing billionaires to throw down some cash. I guess we haven't heard anything yet. But.
Well, we here at Pot TV have decided to start on our own attempt to get some rich people to kick down some cash. We're going to ask Stephen Colbert for his $1 million that he raised in his super PAC and get that to the Regulate Marijuana Like Wine. I think we have a video coming up on Pot TV in the next day or two. Is that right, Greg? Next day or two?
Yes.
Yes. In the next day or two, you will see our plea to Stephen Colbert. So, but if you happen to have, just a couple of bucks you want to donate it to the cause, the most likely form of legalization, the best place to put it is the Regulate Marijuana Like Wine Act. Go to regulatemarijuanalikewine.com and check out the initiative. And if you happen to have $1.5 million, that'll put it on the ballot, and you'll be doing more for legalization than.
What about Richard Branson? You see him? He's just signed up for. What is it, the DPA or something? He just joined their board of directors.
Well, we should tap that guy. I'm sure we're asking all of them, all the progressive moneyed peoples to kick down and make it all happen. But if you happen to have any money that you want to put towards legalization, this would be the place to do it. We're going to get it legal in California in November 2012. It'll spread to the rest of the world, and it's a non-monopolistic model. Anybody can be a wine grape grower. Anybody can distribute wine and beer if they want to. It's really easy to get a license. There's lots of them around, so there's lots of room for everybody to participate in the economy. I just want to say that I'm the kind of pot activist who is an anti-monopoly pot activist. Wherever the monopoly comes from, whether it's a pharmaceutical industry, whether it's exclusive privileges for certain medical dispensaries, it doesn't matter. I'm going to oppose that kind of monopoly. Marijuana isn't just for a few lucky people to grow and deal. It's for all. The riches of the earth are for all, says the Old Testament. So that's the kind of wisdom we should not ignore. God said it, okay? If you believe in those fairy tales.
Yes, well, and some of them do, and some of them don't.
But there's wisdom behind the writing of the Bible, whether you believe in it or not. It's based upon wisdom, and wisdom we can all believe in.
That's right. We've told the story many times. The word Christ itself.
Word Christ itself means
the anointed one.
The anointed one. Same with Messiah. That's Hebrew for the anointed one. Christ is Greek for the anointed one. The anointed one was anointed with anointing oil. The anointing oil is found in Exodus 30:23 in the Old Testament. The first and second translations, the Hebrew and Aramaic translations of the Bible say canna bossum. Canna being a stick, a cane. Bossum or bis, in that case, being stinky or smelly. So cannabis means stinky stick. That's what it means.
It is.
Holy smoke! If you didn't already hear that, now you know, but I've said it many times. So that's what we're here for, is bringing the tree of life back to the Garden of Eden so everybody can dance around naked and have fun. All right.
Which we're going to do right after the show.
We're going to do right after the show. Sorry, we can't put that on for you, but it's the orgies that keep us going. See you guys later.
Bye, David. David goes out with a bang. No, you can leave that there because I'm going to bring Jodie Emery on next. Jodie. And should we set this up? Yeah, come on.
All right.
Come on down. You're the next contestant.
Yay!
Yay! So you want to stand on this side? You can stand on this side if you'd like to.
I was trying to do the Price is Right music. But
that's pretty good. I love The Price is Right. Drew Carey is the host of it now?
No, I haven't seen that.
He lost a lot of weight.
There's the really funny Price is Right where the guy bids $4.20 on everything.
Yes,
it gets really
that
funny.
is funny.
Go look it up.
Yeah.
YouTube, Google.
Play it on the show next
Oh,
week.
I'm going to give a little quick complaint about Google because I wanted to tweet about it and I haven't said it yet. But Google used to be great for looking up news. If I typed in Mark Emery, it gave me every newspaper story about him all the way back for years and years, and it used to have on the sides, you could select the years. That's been disappearing over time down the memory hole. And now, if you've noticed, has anyone else noticed, there's a question for the chat. Have any of you found that Google results are far more restricted? And it's like they customize your search results too, so you don't know what you're missing. You're only getting things they think will most appeal to you.
like that.
So I don't, what are other people seeing that I'm not? And it doesn't have all the news anymore, so that sucks. I hate that.
There's a few things that Google had at one time that they don't now that I really liked. One of them was the Twitter function. When Twitter had an agreement with Google and
there was posts
it was
on
live.
the search results.
Yeah, it would come
right.
in a real time. You could see the Twitter post coming
That
through,
did go
and it was
away,
great. I love that.
like
But I
that
got
too.
rid of that. Yeah.
So yeah, technology, how we love thee and loathe thee, or
Yes.
those who control thee.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And Google is getting a little scary. They've now consolidated all of their agreements.
And they read your emails.
Yeah, and they're doing a lot of sharing between their different programs. So they'll watch, if you have Gmail, they'll read your emails, and then you'll find advertising related to things you've talked about in your email. It's
Like
pretty
they're
freaky.
targeting, they're trying to target all
Yeah.
ads to certain people and build profiles. But anyway, this isn't what we're here to talk about really.
The show about Google.
Yes.
Yes, no, we're here to talk about your latest media appearance.
Yeah, I got to go on
Sun TV.
conservative news network, Sun TV, and it's Michael Corrin. He's probably the most reasonable of the bunch. I'd say he's like the Judge Napolitano on Fox News. He's a host on Fox News. He's kind of more bellicose and kind of hurly-burly and all that, but at least kind of more libertarian leaning.
Yeah.
I think this guy kind of is too. I don't know.
I haven't, you know what, I have to admit I haven't watched his whole show, so I don't know where
Yeah,
I stand
I
on the
haven't-
other
I
issues.
saw
but
it, but
he seems
yeah, I don't know.
fair. You know what, in this interview he seemed a little more aggressive with you, or at least pretending to be
Well, let me
aggressive.
say that Charles Adler and Ezra Levant, our two other of the TV network hosts, would never have me on. Never,
No.
ever. I'm a felon's wife and that sort of thing to them. I'm sure they, like Charles Adler, anyway, there's bigots in Canada and the U.S. You all are familiar with these types, Bill O'Reilly-esque kind of.
Right, exactly. Well, and that's why they
Big
have them,
mouths.
because those guys get a lot of attention for
Yeah.
their big mouths.
But they want controversy too, so pot is a hot, controversial
Yes.
subject. So
Yeah.
they had me on just to talk about that, basically. That's kind of what it said. It's,
All right, well,
what did
let's watch
they
it.
titled it The Case for Cannabis.
That's right, the
So
case.
that's what it was
He was
about.
putting you on trial.
He's just giving me 6 minutes to preach the good word. So I hope you think I did well. So let's watch.
I think you
it's
did.
only 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So
All right, check this out, guys.
Now, Mark Emery, I'm sure you've heard of him, is in prison for being an activist, I suppose, around the cannabis issue. I mean, there are specific reasons, but it's really being an activist. And his wife, Jodie Emery, is free and in Vancouver, if that is freedom. I want to make this quite clear. You know, we disagree on this issue of cannabis and drugs and legalization and decriminalization. I'm fairly conservative on this, but that doesn't mean you can't have an informed, civilized debate. And I certainly think it is ridiculous to have people in prison for long periods of time when they have not used any violence at all. We now hear that it could be, and I must find out if this is hyperbole or not, but it could be that someone who grows cannabis could spend more time in prison than a child rapist. Is this true? Is this really true? Or is this just a campaign that you're running?
Well, it is true if you look at the mandatory minimums being offered for drug offenses and marijuana offenses. This government is really cracking down on the marijuana culture and marijuana growers. They're out of touch with Canadians, though. The most recent poll was 66% of Canadians want legalization or decriminalization, and 59% of conservative voters also want it legalized or decriminalized. They understand that prohibition hasn't worked. Making tougher laws and putting people in prison isn't reducing the problems. And I agree that violent, dangerous criminals and organized crime are a threat and should be dealt with. But the only way to do so is to end prohibition, take the money away from them, bring it into the legitimate economy, stop wasting taxpayer dollars going after an endless battle, and we'll see a solution to so many of the problems associated with the drug trade today.
Mm-hmm. Look, we just had a survey that showed that, 65% of people support the death penalty. Wherever you stand on that, it's not the government's job to simply obey the people. They have to have their own ideas. And I mean, I think you'd agree that there's been a big media campaign and entertainment campaign to normalize drug use. I don't think people who use cannabis should have criminal records and be arrested. But if you are growing the stuff to sell, well, I've got very little sympathy with you.
Well, consider that most Canadians aren't going and calling up their local Hells Angels dealer to get their weed. Millions of Canadians smoke marijuana, and they do so peacefully, and they either get it from a friend, somebody who grows a couple plants, or somewhere through the chain. But people aren't really buying off dealers from the street. Millions of Canadians get it from people who are growing a few plants in their basement. Indoor growing, a lot of people do it for other types of plants too. But if you wanted to make it safer for people to grow and access cannabis, bring it into the free market, bring it into the private sector or even the government. Get it in the hands of responsible people. Don't let the gangsters control the majority of it.
It's a very good and a very clever argument, and you make it well. But at the same time, if you don't want to, again, if someone uses the stuff, and most cops would go along with this, if it's being used, they're not going to really intervene. I've seen police cruisers drive past cars full of kids who, they've got better things to do. But if you don't want to go to prison, if you don't want a record, then don't grow it. It's as simple as that. You use it if you want, but don't grow the stuff.
The problem is, if regular, ordinary Canadians who grow their own aren't able to do it because they're afraid of the law, that means more marijuana is going to be grown by organized crime. Gangsters and criminals are willing to take the risks. They know that they could be shot on the street, they can get arrested, they know there are risks involved, and they're the people willing to take those risks. So when you raise the risk and you raise the threat of prison and the punishment increases, only the worst of the worst types of people are going to continue taking those risks.
But Jodie, you know that the practicality is neither the government nor the police are going after people who are growing for personal use. They're aiming at people who are growing big time because they want to make money. And these people aren't doing it because they're activists or they're noble. They're generally doing it because they want to make money.
Well, if that's an issue and you don't want people profiteering from prohibition, then end prohibition and there won't be money to be made and there won't be a huge number of people breaking the law to do that. But again, organized crime, their marijuana is mostly for export. A lot of Canadians grow their own homegrown. And these prisons that are being built across Canada, we know there are tens of thousands of prison beds being opened up. And we don't have tens of thousands of Bernardos or Willie Pictons out there. There's a lot of Canadians who grow a couple plants and sell it to their friends who are facing prison under these laws. And we've seen it happen in the U.S., and we know that private prison corporations lobby for these types of laws. If Harper is so sure that this is a good thing for Canada, why aren't they providing the evidence? Why are the reports blacked out? What is the motivation behind these laws when all the science and all the studies and all the experts and even conservatives throughout the United States say that this is the wrong direction, this is a waste of billions of dollars?
Some conservatives do, some don't. I mean, there's obviously a division between libertarian and non-libertarian. But so, we haven't got much time left. But so you think Stephen Harper is in league with what, organised crime to make sure there's still money to be made in drugs? I mean, what's the motivation for this?
Let's just say that there are certain people who profit from prohibition, and that certainly includes gangsters, but police budgets go up, prisons go up, and people who want prohibition to end want to see the criminals put out of business.
Okay.
I am not on the side of gangsters. I want safer streets for Canada.
It's where you lose me, you see. It's conspiracy theory. I think this is a valid debate to have, but I don't think anyone, certainly Stephen Harper, is in league with anyone else. He merely thinks this is the way. Look, we will bring you back on the show. My regards to you and to your husband. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All the time, everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was really good, Jodie. We were just talking about some of the points Jodie was making about, and she repeated over and over that, and it's a really important point, that this is targeting average Canadians.
Yeah.
It's not just gangs they're targeting. They keep trying to sell it that way. Nicholson says it's just organized crime we're targeting.
Yeah.
No. No, it's because 200 plants, as you've seen, you guys were talking about the fact that pedophiles would get off with less time than some pot growers, people who are growing over 200
These
plants.
penalties are insanely harsh, and they're going to grab up a lot of young people, a lot of minorities. And in Canada, get this, Canadian police don't have to report the race of the people that they're dealing with, but there's belief that there is, of course, racial bias, especially against black Canadians, because in Toronto, I read news stories about this, and the police don't want to provide the data because it would show that there's stereotyping and racial profiling and targeting going on in this country. There's a lot of bad going on in this country.
Yeah. It's just like New York. I mean, the same things that happened there happen in big cities here.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
not so good here. But that's what's fun about being invited onto a conservative news network, is because the audience are people that I believe we can convince them. I don't believe that ending prohibition is a liberal or an NDP or a Green or any sort of position other than just a position based on defense of liberty and freedom and basic human rights. But you know, the conservatives, there are people there who really do believe prohibition is a failed policy, and it's true. I mentioned that in the US. There's a lot of people who know it's a failed policy. So never write off the people that you perceive to be your enemies. Like if your newspaper is really conservative, or your news host in your local news or whatever is conservative, you can still try to appeal to them. And I did another interview, maybe someone could find the link, but my first interview with him was about legalization too, and we talked about prohibition a lot.
If you go to the front page of Cannabis Culture right now, there's a story there about the interview, and it's had both of them are
CannabisCulture.com. Check that out.
CannabisCulture.com.
Yeah?
Yeah, so and that was a great one. And your original one, you were talking about the 4 former Vancouver mayors who had come out and support. And that was a great little interaction you guys had about that as well.
Yeah.
It was cool. Sun TV. And Sun TV has been covering, they actually have been paying a little bit of attention to the pot community.
Oh, but really, the rest of it is horrible. There's a lot of garbage. Like it really is the Fox News North. It's so... no,
some of it's bad. The thing I remember seeing...
I'm surprised I'm even on it. Like the first time I was asked, I was shocked, and then to be back, I'm stunned that they allow me to be on there. Like somebody somewhere, I bet, is saying, "Stop bringing that.
Shut that Emery up.
Don't put her on there." but if there's going to be people, he attacked me. Okay, it's true, but that's great because Marco always said, with radio interviews and any of that sort of thing, you don't want just a bunch of people agreeing with you, because then you don't get to make your points very well, because the point of having a debate is to try and win people over to your side. So you need to have someone presenting the alternative viewpoint. And so when you have a host, or even people who call into the radio and say, "Mark Emery, you're trying to sell drugs to children and you're ruining people's lives and you're just a drug dealer," they say crazy things that other people go, "Man, that's insane. They're crazy people." And then they don't want to agree with that crazy person's point of view. So they're more willing to listen to what you have to say when they're weighing the information being shared and the motivation behind what's being shared. So when you have somebody who's uninformed, it's great because you have an opportunity to inform them. So, for example, I once had a mother call me. She had my number. It was during my election campaign with the BC Green Party in 2009. And she said, "I'm just concerned about you handing out this literature about legalization because my young son, he got marijuana from his friends at school and he's using it and I don't want him to do that and I think you're promoting it." And I told her that, legalization and ending prohibition would prevent young people like that young from getting the easy access that they have now to marijuana. And if her concern is that he's buying it from his friends at school, they're not buying booze and cigarettes from each other because it's harder to get. It's honest that there's a lot of marijuana amongst young people. And so I told her that our position of ending prohibition would suit her desire. And she had to chew on that for a while. And then the same thing with Proposition 19 when we went down to Oakland, which was awesome when we campaigned. I talked to people on the phone about these issues. And you can win people over. And a good strategy, if you're having a debate with someone, start by agreeing with them on something. Find common ground and be like, "Okay, we both agree that we don't want gangs to control the trade of marijuana, right? We don't like them making money from it. Yeah, we agree? Yes. Then make your point. So they can try and follow it and never try and beat it into somebody, like, because people like to admit or come to a conclusion on their own. They never, in the heat of an argument, they never go, oh, you're right, I'm totally wrong, I see your point, you know, you don't do that.
Unless they're being sarcastic.
Well, yeah, and so you go home and you think about it and you change your mind. So if you just approach people with an idea and be like, but hey, you figure it out, you know, I'm not, you know, this is just the way I see it, and maybe you'll see it, do some research, figure it out on your own, and show me if I'm wrong, you know, maybe you could find some. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And it is good to try and win people over from, no matter what they believe. And starting at the beginning is a good way to do that, right? That's why it's kind of cool that having the opportunity when somebody's opposed to you. And Michael Corrin, yeah, I did notice he mentioned that they attacked you this time. Last time he did seem to agree with you a little bit more, but his attacks were kind of ridiculous attacks anyway.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's because he knows that your argument is sound, and he did mention that a few times. Though he was attacking you, he's also saying, well, but you make so much sense.
And so, like, the things that he says are things that the viewers are thinking in their head too, right? Because they're from that sort of viewpoint. They're concerned about the same sort of things. So when I respond to him, I'm responding to their concerns. So hopefully, you know, get some people talking. I don't know how many people actually watch on TV, to be honest. I mean,
yeah, I'm not really sure.
Prime Minister and
hopefully
all
not that many.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's still good.
Well, as long as Stephen Harper saw it, I'd be happy. Hopefully he's paying attention.
I'd like to know. Hey, little fun video fact thing. You could watch a video when I was in Harper's office in Calgary. We occupied his office and didn't leave, and Jacob Hunter rolled gigantic joints on the desk of Stephen Harper's office.
Yeah.
And we went on the patio and waved the flag and a free mark banner. There's videos and photos of this. I hope you guys have seen that.
It's on Cannabis Culture.
Yeah, it would be on Cannabis Culture. But what's interesting is Stephen Harper's office, his desk, he had a little mug and it had the American emblem on it. And so, yeah, anyway.
And you know
interesting that he had the U.S.
Who's on the line right
now? Oh, Marco Renda. Perfect timing.
Renda.
Okay, we're wrapping up here. Okay, you take the call. And,
hey, Marco.
Thanks for tuning into this show, everybody.
Hey.
I'm sorry I don't make it by more often. But, yeah, I've got to go because I've got to get some work done.
All right, well, why don't we go live right now? You want to?
And he's going to take over.
All right.
So watch my latest weekly show.
This should be okay.
They're always
unless it sounds
uploaded
bad
at
to you or something.
youtube.com/PotTV Network.
All right.
And it's on the front page of the website. I'm sure you can find videos.
All right,
too.
sounds
so
good. Hold on just one sec,
www.pottv.
Jodie's just wrapping
up. So check it out, subscribe, and watch my weekly shows. I give free stuff away.
Awesome, thanks, Jodie.
All right.
That was excellent.
Fun times. Hey, Marco.
Cool. And Marco's on the line. We have Marco Renda, the publisher of Treating Yourself magazine.
And thank you again for inviting us to the Treating Yourself Expo and providing another booth for us so generously. Thank you. Just wanted to say that and let our fans know.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Marco.
Well, you're quite welcome. It's my pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you and everybody from BC out at the Expo in May.
Yeah, we can't wait for that. Actually, why don't you give the dates and the email, or sorry, the website address for that real quick, so people know how to get more information about the Treating Yourself Expo.
It's May 25th through the 27th, and you get more information at treatingyourselfexpo.com.
Awesome. Yeah, we had a great time when we were there the last 2 years, and I'm sure that this time will be fun. It's at the same convention center and everything this year, right?
Yeah, it's still at the convention center hallway, but this year we replaced the stage area with a glass blowing.
Oh, very cool. Wow, that's going to be great. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Marco, why don't you tell people a little bit more about the expo and what it represents and what you guys are doing there?
Well, like all the other years, we're going to be, doing the lectures and such from the doctors and activists. We're hoping to bring out John Conroy to talk about the legal aspect, something we haven't touched on yet in the previous expos. And this year, like I said, we're bringing on the first ever flame off in Canada, and we have 9 the top glass artists coming up to do a demonstration and competing in the first ever Treating Yourself flea mob.
Wow, that's very cool. Wow, and so...
And we have Mila coming over from Holland, the Ash Queen, and so this is going to be the Canadian premiere of her movie, Mila's Journey.
Oh, great. Wow, it's going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure. And Marco, there's lots of stuff going on now. The Treating Yourself stuff is just one of the many hats you're wearing these days. You're the publisher of Treating Yourself magazine. You founded this expo, but now you've also opened a vapor lounge in Ontario and a glass studio there as well, right?
Yes, it's the glass shop is more like a gallery, and we're supplying, it's a wholesale gallery where we're supplying stores across Canada. And then we have Vape on the Lake, which is upstairs of the shop, and it's 100% handicap accessible. And we're having continual growth. As Jodie saw when she was here, the atmosphere is totally different than the other lounges. It's more relaxed, more like just a chill place, more just a lounge. It's not what, the loud music. It's a different vibe, a different atmosphere. And so we're basically tending to, a different clientele. And we're more geared to, I guess you would say, the patient base, right? And then those that on a more mature audience, that, like the business people that want to just chill, they don't want to have the loud music and such. And then we have the college students that come and, just chill out playing PlayStation. So we get all kinds of different vibes here, and it's cool.
Cool, and so how about the glass stuff?
Well, the glass, man, I tell you, it's a gallery. We have, because we're the Canadian distributors for Philadelphia, we're the Canadian distributors for Toro, and now we're going to be distributing Roar as well to shops. So, and then on top of that, we just brought on a company called Bada Bing Zenit, and the glass artist from Bada Bing, Sasha, he used to do the color work for Roar. So we're introducing, some new companies, and we're trying to help the existing artists. And what we're hoping to do is bring on a bunch of Canadian artists into the fold.
And that's one-of-a-kind glass.
We don't want to leave them out.
Cool, man. And it's called one-of-a-kind glass, right?
Yes.
Where can people find out more about that?
oneofakindglass.com. We're still working on the website, but it's we're at 2985 Lakeshore Boulevard West. So that's where the Vape on the Lake is, and then the door right next door is one-of-a-kind glass.
Very cool.
I'd love to have you guys down here when you get something. If you're able to get down here a day or two early, come on down and chill out.
That would be fun. Yeah, I definitely intend to check it out while we're there. It'd be awesome. Well, Marco, and of course, now there's been some political trouble, I guess, you could call it, because of the dispensary or related to. Now, I have a little video here from Sun TV as well. We played Jodie's Sun TV video earlier. And Sun TV, when did they come and talk to you?
They were here on the 1st of February because I was taking my shop manager down to the hockey games. I remember that was the 1st of February, and then they put it online on the 3rd of February.
Cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and play this clip.
Now, the only politician that's against us here, the local politician, is City Councilman Mark Renda. My local conservative MP, elected MP, he supports what I'm doing over here because I spent 90 minutes in his office talking to him, and during the Christmas parade, he came up, he shook my hand, and says, I'm sorry you're having problems with Mark Renda. He says, I told him to leave you alone because I support what you're doing. And that was from Bernard Trottier.
Huh, and now he's going after you.
guy to the city council that doesn't want no part of us in his neighborhood, saying that we promote drugs and prostitution. And I grew up in the area, and I know the Lakeshore, it was known as Hooker Alley, and so prostitution has been around this neighborhood for God's age. We didn't bring it here. It was here when we moved in.
You guys have nothing to do with prostitution. It's ridiculous.
We got nothing to do with prostitution.
Yeah.
Nor drugs. We got a herb, you know? It's a flower, it's a medicine, it's, you know, we're not doing anything illegal. There's no trafficking, there's no, you know, we're promoting respectable, responsible use. And that's for everyone, not just med patients. And when the drug squad came here, that's what they were told.
Right. Now, Marco, I'm going to go ahead and play this clip from Sun TV for the viewers, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about it on the other side.
Sure.
All right.
You know, we're not hippies, potheads, you know, in drug dens. We're, you know, people who are productive society members.
The Lakeshore Boulevard West in South Etobicoke has a new vapor lounge. It's called Vape on the Lake. It started last November, and already there's some concerns from the community.
Well, what goes on here is we have people come in off the street, whether they're social users of cannabis or medical users, and they pay $5 to come in to use the facilities. We have Grimes, which is totally against what we're doing here, and Councillor Grimes, yeah, and he basically doesn't want to have us because we promote drugs and prostitution. Our location, we don't promote prostitution. There is no drugs. There is no trafficking whatsoever. As a matter of fact, we've cleaned up the neighborhood. There has been less crackheads in the neighborhood since we've opened.
The owner of the city's 7th vapor lounge, Marco Renda, said he's doing everything by the books. Most of his customers that come in here to smoke the marijuana, they have permits from the government.
People who come here because maybe they have children at home, maybe they live in public housing and they're not allowed to vaporize or medicate while they're there. These are common things. You know, we're here to promote respectable, responsible use, and people love the atmosphere here. You know, they're able to come and feel relaxed and not worried about, you know, what people are thinking of them. Because there is a stigmatism about people who use cannabis.
They all have to be above the age of 18. He says it checks ID at the door, and there's no selling allowed, please. He said they can only come in here, use or rent some of his machines, and smoke their marijuana and some hashish. That's all that's allowed. He says the facility here is strictly controlled and monitored by himself and his staff. Even though the police have been in here to inspect the premises, Area Councilor Mark Grimes has some concerns.
I would like to tell Mark Grimes, come on down to Vape on the Lake, get yourself educated, and see for yourself. We're not about prostitution, selling drugs, or any illegal activities. Come here, get educated for yourself before you make any more comments off the cuff.
For Sun Media, I am Tom Godfrey.
All right, so another Sun TV clip. And so Marco, what did you think of the clip and the way they put that thing together?
Well, I thought it was very positive. I think it put us in a good frame, you know. It didn't make us look like lazy, unproductive members of society.
Yeah, exactly. And the place looks really nice. They had a few good shots of inside and the way stuff looks, so that was cool.
Yeah, and you know, they had, it's the first time the Toronto Sun has done anything really positive towards cannabis.
Yeah, I know, it's pretty bizarre. They're usually pretty antagonistic to our community. But they had Jodie on recently too, you see that?
No, I missed it.
Yeah, they had Jodie. Now Jodie's been on twice on the same show. It's Michael Corrin's The Arena. I guess he's one of their journalists there. But he's invited Jodie back twice now, once to talk about the former Vancouver mayors, and then recently to talk about the fact that Bill C-10 will give longer sentences to pot growers than pedophiles. Did you see that story in the media?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, there's an article that came out, and that's why Jodie was invited, because there's an article published in one of the post-media papers pointing out the fact that people who grow over 200 plants, and if those people are caught in a rental property or something like that, they get a mandatory 1.5-year sentence, which is more than what a pedophile, a child rapist, or somebody who forces children to have sex with animals would get.
That's ludicrous.
Yeah, that's our Bill C-10. Thanks, Stephen Harper. So, and speaking of ludicrous governments, what's going on with the city itself then, Marco, doing some sort of investigation into vapor lounges in Toronto there?
Well, the study, basically council put together a committee, and they're doing an investigation on all lounges and seeing, and I guess it involves the police, the fire, health inspectors and such. Now, you know, when I put this place together, I went compliant and over and above compliant to the city rules and regulations. You know, we already had investigators here prior to even opening up. So I don't know if any of the other lounges were visited, and if they were, by who? I don't know. I haven't heard of any of his visits.
And you guys were visited?
Yeah, we were visited long before we even opened up.
Right.
And while we're open, because they're coming to see if we, you know, we had the health inspector here. We had the city bylaw people in here. We had, you know, and all what we're fighting for is zoning, because they zoned us as a restaurant and we're not a restaurant. So we're trying to change, we're going to fight for them to change something to do with their zoning, because they said we need 35 parking spots in order to get our food vending permit.
And how many do you...
If we open as a retail spot, we could do everything like what we're doing, just not sell food or drinks.
Huh. Yeah, so there's a lot of regulations, bylaws, a bunch of hoops that you have to jump through, I guess. It's not just as easy as setting up and saying go. Huh. And so... I was going to say, Marco...
The glass shop, you know, supports, you know, it can support the upstairs, no problem. But, you know, the number of people that we have coming through the door and that number keeps growing on a daily basis. I don't see it being a problem if we don't have food, because we have a convenience store right next door, and so all it's been doing is it's been making a very happy neighbor. So, you know, where you lose one way, you gain another.
Right. Now, do you know how wide of a span this investigation will have, or do you know anything more about the investigation itself or what it will look like?
I have no idea. Paul Lewin, I don't know if he knows. He's going to be lobbying. Abby from Hotbox is going to be lobbying. I haven't had a chance to get down to City Hall yet to apply to be a lobbyist for that, to hear it out and have my 5 minutes. I don't even know if I'm even going to be in the country, because I leave in 10 days for Spain.
Oh, you're going to Cannabis?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Cannabis, and then after that going to Amsterdam, have meetings there.
Oh, very cool. Well, Marco, we'll have you back on the show again as it gets closer to the Treating Yourself Expo. I'm really excited about the expo. It's going to be a lot of fun. Give me the dates of the expo again.
It's May 25th through the 27th of 2012, and it's over the Memorial Day long weekend for our American friends south of the border.
Very cool. Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that happens at that expo. It's like Canada's largest commercial pot gathering around, pretty much, isn't it?
Yep, and the world's largest vapor lounge is going to be right in the convention center, same place where the G20 summit was held.
Right, yeah, it's a great spot for it, for sure. Cool, Marco. Well, thank you very much for coming on. What other websites should people visit before I let you go? Vapeonthelake.com or something like that?
Yes, it's vapeonthelake.com and oneofakindglass.com, and it's the number one, not O-N-E.
Right, one of a kind. Okay, well, thank you very much, Marco, for coming on, and we'll talk to you again soon. And congrats on everything you're doing. It's great to see somebody doing so much and having such success. And you're doing a great job, man. Thanks a lot for everything you do.
Thank you. You have yourself a great evening, and give my regards to Jodie and Mark.
Absolutely. Thanks, Marco. Have a good one.
Take care. Cheers. Bye.
All right, Marco Renda, publisher of Treating Yourself magazine, publisher and editor, I believe, and the founder of the Treating Yourself Expo, Vape on the Lake, the dispensary, one-of-a-kind glass. And yeah, so that's pretty much going to wrap this show up. It's 5:18, not bad. Probably should do another bong rip before we go. Marius, you still don't want a bong rip? Too dirty for you? Come on, come on. The chat would love it. Somebody said bong rip for Bob Marley in the chat. That's a nice one. Yeah, sad, of course, that Bob isn't around. But it was his birthday the other day. It was very nice.
That's right.
We did a little show on Monday with McMahon.
And Rebecca.
And Rebecca, Ambrose, the Vancouver Seed Bank, Vancouver and Victoria Seed Bank. That doesn't have any weed in it. Let me put some in there. There's weed. So yeah, not a bad show today. Marius?
Yeah, I think it worked well.
Worked well. Here you go.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking care of the chat. Anything going on out there? What are people talking about?
They're talking a lot about what you were talking about.
Oh, that's good.
It was very active today.
Ah, people are paying attention, I guess. Doesn't always happen, I'm certain. Princess, yeah, a little dirty, but could be worse. I remember hitting out of filthy bongs when I was younger, and not even thinking about cleaning them at all. They were totally caked in resin disgustingness. Oh yeah, Princess kicks some ass. There you go. Woo-hoo-hoo. Thanks everyone. Thanks Marius. Good bong rip. And I'll do one as well actually. Alright guys, thanks for watching. That was fun. And there was a lot of people out there watching today. I noticed it was up around 100 at one point, 98 or something. Good show. And the screen, we didn't really utilize the screen much today. It does have that graphic. That's the Vape on the Lake logo. I've sort of superimposed it over the Cannabis Culture News logo. But yeah, we didn't utilize the screen. We'll try and use the screen a little bit more in future shows. Do things with it. I could have had a picture of Marco on the screen. Princess. Thanks guys for watching, and yeah, Friday, I guess we'll be back next Friday, won't we, Marius?
We sure will.
We will, and of course, live shows. Oh, here's something I forgot to mention. Just about to be uploaded, as soon as this show is done, I'll be uploading Jesus. I'll be uploading Dana Larson, a new episode. He's got a show, he's going to do a regular series now about end prohibition, called End Prohibition with Dana Larson. And the first episode will be uploaded to the front page of Cannabis Culture right after this show. Wow, I'm really baked now. That was a nice bong rip. Whew. It was a good show. Alright, so yeah, I'll put that up afterwards. You guys can check that out. Of course, Monday, McMahon, Opus Live with McMahon. Check that out. 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific on Mondays. 4 o'clock on Wednesdays for Marijuana Man and Al the Alchemist show from Under the Influence. And usually me and Marius are hanging out there as well. And yeah, we'll be back on Friday. So thanks a lot, guys. Peace. We'll see you soon.